First, we ranked the Jets offensively as individuals. Then we ranked the defense and special teams. Tonight, we continue our summer ranking series as we put the team to the test. Do they have what it takes to compete in the AFC East? Are they going to be more competitive than the Patriots and the Dolphins? Do they have a path to dethrone the Buffalo Bills as kings of the AFC East? We stack and rank the entire offense of each AFC East team on the other side of it. So let's get it going.
We want you to bring that here, all right? Go out there and press them and choke them out.
What's going on, Jets fans? DTereman back with another live stream episode on the channel. I said it at the top, continuing our summer ranking series, stacking the AFC East offenses. But first, a little bit of a housekeeping note. I did hit 500 subscribers, so I want to give a very big thank you to every single person who has tuned in and consumed my content over the last 2 months since its inception. And although we have reached the 500 subscriber mark, which would get us into eligibility, I put it up on the screen, but I'm about halfway into the public watch hours necessary in order to be monetized as far as gifted memberships, super chats, and the ability to promote merch on my channel. And this is my shout out to you guys. You guys have been so great to me so far. All I ask is that we just push a little harder to get those last 1,600 hours or so that I can finally receive gifted memberships, super chats, and open up a little bit of a store. I have talked to somebody about creating a couple t-shirts with the logo you see right here in the corner. So that is coming. I have a couple of them shipped out just as a mock-up of what they would look like. So I'm going to show those off in the coming weeks when they arrive at my house. But that's my shout out to you guys. I really need help getting to that 3,000 public watch hours so that we can finally do all those things. I can create exclusive content for the channel. Speaking of exclusive content, I did post a Drew Aller film review on my channel for everybody, for the public, and YouTube shut it down after 3 days. Apparently, the issues that they didn't find the first time with the copyright became issues a couple days later. Trying to work out the kinks in how I'm going to go moving forward with doing the film reviews of prospects and as well as Jets players into the season. But right now, kind of fighting YouTube on my Drew Aller video. So for right now, the all 22 film reviews are going to be on a little bit of a pause, but I am digging into the content for Jets season upcoming. I have the Detroit Lions playbook down at my feed over here from 2023. So I'm really going through that and finding what the Jets can do well. And I'll try to incorporate those into some film review type videos that hopefully won't get removed by YouTube a couple days later. So that's just a couple housekeeping notes out of the way. So what I wanted to talk about tonight is AFC offenses. I stacked up the Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive lines. I even included head coaches and play callers in with the offensive side of things. So for this episode, we're going to probably break down a couple of those positions, and depending on how far we get, maybe the entire offense, especially if I get enough love in the chat, enough likes on the video, we will certainly keep it going to do the skill position players. But I definitely want to get into the quarterbacks, the offensive line, and the head coach / play callers of each team in the division, just to give everybody a general baseline of where I think the Jets can and cannot compete, so to speak, in the division. So we're going to put it up on the screen now. Starting off with the quarterback position, I have a lovely little slideshow presentation for those watching on YouTube, but for those that like to just listen as they're driving or doing whatever around the house, I will explain, as always, my thought process and everything that goes into my rankings. So quarterback, not really much of a surprise. Buffalo is going to be number one. I included starters, backups, and depth. So we technically went 3 deep on the quarterback position, as well as some other positions. Offensive line, I stuck with the starters, but we'll get to that position later. Buffalo, no duh. MVP, Josh Allen, coming off a 2024 season where he was just monstrous, pretty much dominated, took over every game. He's going to be number 1, even though I don't love the backup Mitch Trubisky and Mike White as depth. I would say Tyrod Taylor and maybe even Josh Dobbs are technically better backups than Mitch Trubisky, in my opinion. But Josh Allen, number 1, that's going to weigh the heaviest because he is the starter. And unless there's an injury, you're not going to see any of these guys. So I have Josh Allen as number 1 in the division, followed by Tua. And I do believe there's just a huge drop off from Josh Allen, even to Tua, who is number 2 on my list. So Tua comes in, and again, the backup situation in Miami is pretty desolate. Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers. I wouldn't be surprised if Quinn Ewers is the backup and Zach Wilson is just the emergency depth guy at some point this season. So Tua comes in at number 2 in the rankings. A bit of another gap, although not as much as the one from Allen to Tagovailoa, but Drake May comes in at 3. Coming off a pretty decent rookie season, right? He had 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions passing, just over 60-something% completion. So kind of in the average of what, young NFL quarterbacks are completing. So May to me is number 3. Again, I like Josh Dobbs as a backup. Ben Woldridge is a complete nothing in this league, has no experience. So he's kind of irrelevant in the equation, but Josh Dobbs is a pretty solid backup. And then again, if you've watched my summer ranking series, I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm not trying to be a complete downer on the Jets. I'm just trying to be as objective as possible. I do think Justin Fields comes in at number 4, although the gap between May and Fields is closer than the gap between Tagovailoa and Allen. So Fields comes in at 4 to me. He just has to prove it that, right? This is his 3rd team in 3 seasons throughout his 5-year career. So I'm hoping that the offense around him is going to be the best he's ever had, and there's a chance where he propels himself to 2 or 3 even on this list. So it's going to be interesting with Fields. I think he's the complete X factor of the Jets offense right now as it stands. But I have to put him at 4. Kyle Clifton in the chat comes in. Tua is 1 hit away from being not only out of the game, but out of the game. I don't wish it on him, but I don't know how they roll with Zach as number 2, knowing that. Yeah, exactly. How they've constructed their room as a whole doesn't really inspire a ton of confidence. But I'm just factoring this in from the standpoint of everybody's healthy. You would assume 17 games, although it's very hard for even guys like Fields to go through a 17-game season. But yes, Tua is definitely a very volatile number 2 in this ranking, but it also just goes to show Drake May is a bit too green for me to propel up to number 2, and Justin Fields just hasn't quite shown it. Tua very well as Patriots 12 joins in. I told you I'd get you some Patriots content eventually, dude. Tua can decline and will be number 4. I mean, I'm not saying it will happen, but I don't think these rankings will look anywhere near the same entering the 2026 season. So big gap from Josh Allen to the rest, and I have to put Justin Fields at 4, unfortunately. Next, I have the offensive line, and instead of going 8 to 10 deep and trying to project the backups on all the other teams, I just went with the starters. We know who the primary backups are, at least on our team, but let's just, again, operate under the idea that everybody's healthy in a perfect scenario, what these offenses at their highest power could do. So, again, no surprise, Buffalo comes in at number 1. They have just immaculate consistency on their offensive line. I believe all 5 starters are returning. Deion Dawkins, David Andrews, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance, and Spencer Brown from left to right. Star-studded unit. As much as we don't want to admit it, Deion Dawkins was right about the Jets, and he's a damn good football player. Osiris Torrance is coming along. I believe he's from Florida, a couple years in the league, 2 or 3 years in the league. And then Spencer Brown on the other side is just a really good right tackle. David Andrews and Connor McGovern, I guess you could look at as the weak points, but the continuity and the coaching of the Buffalo Bills keeps them at number 1 for their foreseeable future. But right on their heels is those New York Jets, right? We have the second best offensive line, at least the starting 5, in my opinion, from left to right: Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, Armand Membu. So we have 4 of our 5 starters returning. And a couple years ago, there was a continuity article about offensive lines that bring back 60% or more of their starting unit from last season. Their average, their success rate chance just skyrockets. And I'll do a little bit more digging into that one because the Jets finally have continuity going from year 1 to 2. And I understand Fashanu and Membu were not day 1 starters last year. So you're really just returning the interior 3 from last year's week 1. But Fashanu ended the season at left tackle on a high note. So it'd be great to add him in. You have 80% continuity. You throw Armand Membu in at right tackle, the position he played at Missouri, the position he's comfortable at playing, so you don't have to play any offensive line Tetris for now. And I clearly think the Jets are number 2. They're not quite the Bills, and they're well ahead of the 2 teams below them in the Patriots and Dolphins. The Patriots I have at number 3. And this is a weird one for me because they threw a lot of money at players like Garrett Bradbury, and Morgan Moses even got a really hefty deal from them. They have returning players like Michael Onwenu and Cole Strange at the guard positions. And then they added Will Campbell at left tackle. So I feel like there's a lot of potential for the Patriots offensive line. And I like that they've invested money in the trenches. I just don't know what it's going to look like. So there I was a little bit conservative and put them at 3. I don't think they're better than the Jets unit on paper as it stands today. Could things change midseason? Sure, probably. But I do think the Jets are a bit ahead of them in terms of talent on the offensive line, especially when it comes to like Simpson versus Strange, even Vera Tucker versus Nwenu, Tittman and Bradbury. I think the interior of the Jets is just superior to the Patriots. And although I did like Will Campbell coming out, and I miss Morgan Moses, I mean, it's tough. I like Fashanu and Membu that much more. I like the young upside. I like the ability for 6 seasons ahead, we could still have the same left and right tackle protecting whoever it is at quarterback. And then bringing up the rear, the Dolphins, man, this offensive line, we just talked about Tua being 1 hit away, and this offensive line doesn't inspire the confidence to keep Tua upright and not be at risk of another concussion or serious injury that's going to keep him away. From left to right, you have Patrick Paul, second-year player, James Daniels, I believe a free agent signing from the Steelers a year or 2 ago, Aaron Brewer, another free agent signing, Jonah Savanaia was a 3rd-round pick this year, I believe, and then Austin Jackson, a former first-round pick at right tackle for them. From left to right, I don't see one position where they have the guy that would propel them up to even number 3 above the Patriots. It's tough. I mean, yes, you added James Daniels and Savanaia as Daniel in the chat is pushing back on. You did add them, but the Patriots added Will Campbell, Garrett Bradbury, and Morgan Moses. So although you did add pieces, I mean, James Daniels, I don't know if he's all that great. Maybe he's probably better than Cole Strange if you're just going a 1-for-1, but Will Campbell is probably better than every offensive lineman the Dolphins have. And I would probably say the same for Garrett Bradbury too. And Jonas Savanaia could be something, but he's still a rookie and he's going to have to deal with his lumps entering the NFL. So I have the Dolphins pretty squarely at number 4 right here. And I feel confident that the Jets at number 2 is not something that's just going to be like a mirage. And all of a sudden they're going to be the 4th unit in the division. I just, unless the wheels fall off and injuries happen, which I'm not accounting for, obviously, but I feel pretty confident in the Jets offensive line unit. Moving to the next grouping, we have head coach and play caller. I have this ranked in order of play caller. I thought I had it ranked in order of head coaching, but I don't. Again, Buffalo is going to be number 1. It's kind of beating a dead horse, but they're the best team in the division for a reason. And it's going to stay that way because of their head coach and the continuity that he has within the coaching staff. Keeps the best coaches, lets some of the good coaches walk, but is able to replace those coaches. So Sean McDermott, number 1 on my list. Mike Vrabel comes in at number 2 on my head coaching rankings. And this is a lot of different things. I mean, Mike McDaniel being on the hot seat, Aaron Glenn being a first-year head coach for the first time ever. Mike Vrabel, this is his first time being the Patriots head coach, but it's not his first time being a head coach. And I really liked what he did in Tennessee. I liked him so much that I had him in basically, my number one spot to be the head coach of the New York Jets entering this season, until they did what they did with the Rooney Rule and hired him quickly before we could even get him in the building. And then we got Aaron Glenn, which I'm not mad about. But Mike Vrabel was definitely my number one guy. I'm a big believer in what he has done in his career as a coach. I didn't really care for him as a player, to be honest, but I think he is number two behind McDermott in the division. Mike McDaniel is close, but he is number three on this list. I think the fact that he's on the hot seat, which isn't entirely his fault, and that's more for Dolphins fans to get into, but I don't think Chris Greer, their general manager, does a great job of putting him in all of the best positions to succeed. But Mike McDaniel is still a great offensive mind, and I think he can probably not be the third best come season's end if he keeps his job and the Dolphins perform better than I expect them to do. But I have him at 3 right here. And then Aaron Glenn, for the reasons I said before, first-time head coach at the NFL level, first time doing it. I mean, he was a great defensive coordinator, but we have to see what it looks like when he's doing all the managerial stuff as well. And I know Saleh took a little bit to get into the weeds with the more CEO type stuff of being a head coach, and he wanted to just dive in and get his hands on the team and the roster. And it looks like Glenn is doing a good mixture of both. So maybe entering next season, he's going to be higher than 4, but until we actually see it, I just have to be objective and keep him at 4 with no body of work really as a head coach. You move over to play caller rankings. Again, you'll hear this probably a couple times during this series as we go through it, but the Bills are number 1 again. I still think Joe Brady is the best play caller in the group, and I understand he has an MVP caliber quarterback in Josh Allen. That doesn't matter. He still puts him in the best positions to win. Their former OC, whose name is escaping me right now, the guy who threw the tablet at the coach's camera in the box, he got fired, and Joe Brady came in and essentially took the same offense and did more with it. And then they lost Stephon Diggs, or let Stephon Diggs walk, I should say. And Joe Brady was still able to maintain a very high-powered offense. They relied a little bit more on the run game, and they were able to have an MVP caliber quarterback. So I think Joe Brady has to be number 1. Thank you, Dorsey, in the chat. I appreciate it, Chris. I think it was Glenn Dorsey. I think that was his name. Yeah, Dorsey was his last name, though. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Number 2 in the play caller rankings, I have Mike McDaniel. For his shortcomings as a head coach, I still believe he's the best, second best, I should say, offensive mind in the AFC East. His ability to dial up offenses, and I think Tua is the exact perfect example of that. Tua's career arc without Mike McDaniel, he'd probably be out of the league. And Mike McDaniel has been able to find a spot for him, a scheme for him where he's able to play at a high level and continue his career as a former 5th overall first-round pick. So Mike McDaniel deserves credit as an offensive play caller, even though he may have some shortcomings as an overall head coach where a lot of things are less in his control, even though you would think they'd be more in his control. But when you're working with general managers and things like that, there's only so much you can do. Nick Shine, shouting out in the chat. What's up, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Glad you could catch a live show. Everybody tune into his show. If you are able to stay awake till 11:20 p.m., I'm going to certainly try my best to stay up till about midnight and catch the first half of Nick's show. So appreciate you tuning in, Nick. 3rd in the play caller rankings, I do not have Josh McDaniels, and instead I have first-timer Tanner Engstrand. And this is a combination of 2 things. This is my belief that Josh McDaniels is not really a good offensive play caller, and he's been able to, kind of thrive in New England and then has kind of failed and botched his opportunities elsewhere, including Denver and Indianapolis, where he just backed out of the deal of Indianapolis altogether. So I feel like Josh McDaniels outside of New England is an unmitigated disaster. In New England, he's, God with a call sheet, essentially, to a lot of Patriots fans. So it goes both ways with Josh McDaniels. I still think he's pretty cleanly number 4 on the list, because Tanner Engstrand, coming from such a creative offense with Detroit and Ben Johnson, you have to believe that his influence on the offense wasn't minimal. and that everything that we've been hearing about Engstrand is actually true, where he was in on the pass game concepts. He was really dialed in these meetings and contributing a ton of new ideas to how to better the Lions offense, which when you win 14, 15 games, it's hard to, turn your nose up to that. So I think Tanner Engstrand, even though he hasn't been an NFL play caller, I still think the creativity and everything that he brings from Detroit and his other stops, working under Harbaugh, going back to San Diego State, I think he will be firmly number 3 until he proves that he could be better. Maybe he is, another coming of Mike McDaniel, and we have to fear him leaving for a head coaching opportunity, like we once did with Mike LaFleur a couple years back, and that kind of ended horribly. Not that Mike was a bad coach, but the Jets kind of screwed the pooch on that one. So Tanner Engstrand 3, Josh McDaniels 4 on the rankings. So I believe the next slide isn't giving away the next position. It's an update on where we stand currently. Yes, it is. Okay, great. So I put this all together in the last couple minutes before going live, and I'm glad I put it all in the right order. This is so far the rankings that we've gone over, and so far where each team stands, just quarterbacks, O-line, head coach, and play caller. And since we're only 21 minutes and I see a lot of you guys in here showing a lot of love, I think I am going to do the skill position players after this. So Buffalo, you see, clearly has the best advantage. They're in first place because they're number 1 in all categories. The Dolphins come in second place at 2.75. The Patriots come in at 3.0 flat, and the Jets come in at 3.25, bringing up the rear. Obviously, a lot of this is tethered to the quarterback. I believe when we get through this whole thing, I do a quarterback average included and then an average without the quarterbacks. And you kind of see the difference. The Jets get a slight bump up if you take the quarterbacks out of it, but obviously they're the most important position, so you can't. But for right now, the Jets sit in last place based off those 4 groups that we went over. And the skill position players kind of don't really do them a ton of justice, but they bail them out in some areas. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Lots of love in the chat. I'll take a second to shout a couple people out. Chris B, Peg and Artie, Nick Shine, Indy Jets, what's up? Daniel Meehan, Julian, Patriots 12, Kyle Clifton, Alan in the chat. I appreciate everybody. K Brock, you guys are awesome. I appreciate it. It's episode 5. This is my 5th live stream. Like I said at the top, I'm trying to get to 3,000 public watch hours. We're at about 1,300 or so. So we got to get those watch hours up so I can finally get memberships and super chats and a merch store opened, which hopefully by the next time I go live next week, barring any breaking news where I'll go live again this week, I'll hopefully be holding one of the first DT t-shirts. That's a lot to say, but we should be having merch coming through any day now. I was talking to my guy today. He said he's shipping them out tomorrow. So next position ranking we have is the running back room. Surprise, surprise, Buffalo number 1. And this one, it was actually really tough for me. I really wanted to put the Jets at number 1. I think the Jets have the ability to be number 1, especially if this contract situation lingers for James Cook and it turns into a distraction where the production lingers. But I do think the Jets have the ability to be the number 1 unit. For now, they're number 2. James Cook, coming off a 1,000-yard season, he had 16 rushing touchdowns or something ridiculous. It's he had more rushing touchdowns last year than Brees has in his entire career rushing, which isn't necessarily fair to Brees, but also shows you the insane amount of production James Cook was able to get with a MVP caliber quarterback in Josh Allen. So James Cook, number 1, Ty Johnson and Ray Davis as his backups. I think that's, a solid 2-3 punch. Ty Johnson, former Jets legend. Ray Davis, he kind of cooked Sauce Gardner and the Jets last year in the run game. So I definitely like their unit a little bit better, but right on their heels is definitely the Jets. And this 3-headed monster could be really special if Brees has that bounce back year, that pendulum swings back up to where he was in 22 and 23. This is easily the best running back unit in the division. So Brees Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, a lot to like about the group, especially the 2 young guys, but I still think they're second. The Dolphins come in at third. Devon Achane, I feel like he's a really good back. He's dynamic. He's fast. He's shifty. He can do all the things that, you want your elusive back to do. I don't know if he's like a full every down workhorse back, which is why they have guys like Jalen Wright and Alexander Madison, who Jalen Wright is still a speedster in his own right. And then Alexander Madison coming over from Minnesota, I believe, is his last stop before this. So I'm just not in love with the entire unit for the Dolphins. But I do really like Devon Achane, and I think he is a really special player. If he can just stay healthy, I think that's the biggest thing for him as far as his production in this league. I don't think there's a avenue for them to be the second best unit in the division unless something like if James Cook doesn't play for the Bills and they bump down to 3 and the Jets jump up to 1, Dolphins 2. But I just don't see it, even though I do like Achane as a singular person. I just don't love the depth behind him. And then the Patriots, I think they're kind of bringing up the rear. Ramondre Stevenson has had some really special moments in the league. I actually really liked him coming out in the draft process as well. I don't remember where he was drafted. I think maybe 3rd or 4th round. Had some moments in the NFL, and I feel like he's kind of been peaks and valleys so far at the running back position. I love their backup, Travion Henderson. I will tell all the Patriots fans, including Patriots 12, who seems like he's leaving to go watch AFC Roundtable, which is fine. Richie does a great job for the Jets side of things there. Travion Henderson is going to be great, and I'll tell every Patriots fan that. I think he'll probably end up being the starter sooner rather than later for the Patriots. And then Antonio Gibson, kind of a journeyman backup, rotational guy, kind of your receiving back. I think he's just a solid number 3. He can help you out in screens and things like that. But I do think Travion Henderson is my favorite of the group, and he'll be the starter sooner rather than later. But again, somebody has to come in 4th in these rankings. The Jets caught it with Justin Fields. The Dolphins got it with the O-line. The Patriots get it here with running backs. So everybody but the Bills pretty much has seen a 4th place finish in one of these. I'm trying, again, to be as objective as possible, not wearing the green tinted goggles, but also not trying to discount the areas where they are good. And I am going to put them up where I think they are good. And the running backs is certainly a position I think they're great at. So next position group we have is tight ends. Again, Buffalo, number 1. They have a 2-headed monster in Kincaid and Knox, even though I think Knox is kind of regressing, so to speak. I know he kind of boomed when he first came on the scene, and then they added Kincaid, and he kind of struggles to see the field as much as he did. And obviously your production's not going to, keep up with where it was going when you were the man in town, the number 1 guy on the depth chart. I still think they have a great 2-headed monster there. And then they added Jackson Hawes in the draft from Georgia Tech, who is just a really damn near elite run blocker as a tight end. It doesn't really give you a ton of juice in the pass game, but when you have Kincaid and Knox already, you don't really need your 3rd guy to be a pass catcher as well. You can get away with him being the blocking type. So the Bills in at number 1. The Patriots I have at number 2. I don't love or hate Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper as a 1-2 punch. I think they're kind of solid. They did what the Jets did a couple years back when they doubled up in free agency when they got Conklin and Uzama. They did that with Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper the same year. I believe this was 2 off seasons ago now. So they have a solid 1-2 punch, and Jaheim Bell, former South Carolina Gamecock, as their depth guy. Hasn't really done a ton in the NFL, but I still think Henry and Hooper, they had a decent chemistry with Drake May last year where they weren't, great. They weren't world beaters, but they weren't bottom of the barrel either. So if you can just kind of get average to above average tight end play, the Patriots are definitely solid there. The New York Jets come in at number 3. And if you guys remember, I labeled the tight end unit as the worst non-special teams unit on the Jets, just because you have a headliner in Mason Taylor being a rookie, an unproven number 2 in Ruckert, who has 250 career receiving yards over 3 seasons, and Stone Smart, who caught 16 passes last year and came over on a 1-year, very, very minimal deal for the Jets coming from the Chargers. So I was not very high on the tight end unit for the Jets, and I'll be completely candid. Mason Taylor could very well exceed expectations, go for 400, 500 receiving yards, and really change my mind about the unit. But it's amazing that for as down on the unit as I am, they're not the worst in the division. The Dolphins still come in fourth place in this one, and I didn't have them in fourth place when they had Jonnu Smith. I'll be completely candid. They had Jonnu Smith a couple weeks ago, and then they traded him to Pittsburgh in the Minka Fitzpatrick deal with Jalen Ramsey. So they were third on my list, and the Jets were fourth for all the reasons I just said. But now you have an unretired rap star in Darren Waller leading the unit. It's just funny to say out loud. And then you have Pharaoh Brown as a backup and rookie Jalen Conyers, who I did like Jalen Conyers. I believe he's the Texas Tech guy. I was a fan of his coming out of the draft process this past spring, but if that's the guy you're relying on as your third guy and who's probably going to play some significant time, most likely over Pharaoh Brown, like what is he going to give you? So all in all, this unit just scares me for the Dolphins, and there was no other place to put a unit headlined by an unretired rapper than number 4 on the list. So Patriots 12, if you stuck around long enough, you saw the Patriots not come in fourth place on this one. The last offensive unit we have is the wide receiver position. This might kind of be hard on the eyes because I didn't break it up well enough with the Google Sheet image, but the Dolphins come in at number 1. I think this is pretty obvious. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is pretty much a top duo in the entire NFL. Maybe the Bengals with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase is better than them, and maybe there's Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson on the Vikings. Teams like that might be ahead of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but that's really it. Like, these guys are top of their class, top of their game at the entire NFL level, not just the division. So those two being the starters, they're number 1. Malik Washington, former third-round pick, I believe. Nick Westbrook-Akine comes over from Tennessee. Taj Washington, late-round draft pick, and D. Eskridge, who's kind of bounced around as depth guys. So really just the headlining guys, Hill, Waddle, and Nick Westbrook-Akine are really what's kind of propping up the unit as far as experience and talent. Everybody else is a little green, but we can't argue that Hill and Waddle are not the best in the division. Number 2, the Bills. And this one was really tough. I wanted to put the Jets number 2 based on the fact that I think Garrett Wilson is better than any singular receiver that the Bills have. And Nick, I'll get to your question in one second. Yes, I do think Garrett is better than any receiver individually that the Bills have 1-for-1. But when you stack up those top 4 guys, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir, and Curtis Samuel, that is a very strong top 4 where I don't feel worried about their depth drop-off if Josh Palmer misses a game. I understand he does a little bit different things schematically than Shakir or Samuel, but we've seen it work, and they make their depth work, and they also have Laviska Shenault and Elijah Moore as depth guys. So, I mean, if Elijah Moore is your 6th wide receiver, you're kind of doing things right from a depth perspective and a position building perspective. I don't love Keon Coleman as an individual. I think he has some flaws in his game, but I do think he is solid, and him and Josh Palmer with Khalil Shakir in the slot is a very good 11 personnel for the Buffalo Bills. So they came in at number 2, although it was very close for the Jets to push up. So Nick, I'll get to your question before I jump into the Jets at number 3. Nick asks, do you see both Gibson and Corley making the roster? I don't see both make it. I would love if Corley makes it, but right now, today, July 14th, I would have to say Gibson has the leg up or the advantage on Malachi Corley to make the roster. I think there's a world where all 6 of the guys listed on your screen, Wilson, Reynolds, Lazard, Gibson, Smith, and Corley, make the team. But if it's a numbers game and you're only keeping 5 wide receivers, unless you deal Allen Lazard, which seems like it's getting less and less likely, Malachi Corley to me is the odd man out, which absolutely crushes me because I fell in love with him in the draft process, loved watching him down in Mobile, just truck sticking DBs and one-on-ones for no reason, and just having a great week of practice down in Mobile. So it's really unfortunate for Malachi Corley that this is kind of the path it's gone on for him. But yeah, I would say Gibson makes it over Corley, although me personally, I would have it flipped. And realistically, if I could just get rid of Allen Lazard and keep Gibson and Corley, that's cool too. I wouldn't hate that. So good question there from Nick. So yeah, the Jets come in at 3 for all the reasons I just said. Garrett Wilson props up the unit. Josh Reynolds, as a number 2 is a solid number 2, but not great. Doesn't really inspire a ton of confidence unless he can get back to the form where he was in 2023, where he had over 600 receiving yards and I believe 6 or 7 touchdowns receiving. So you're going to bank on a lot of production from Reynolds. Lazard, if he's here, you just got to hope that he keeps the soccer ball in the locker room and he comes out and puts some extra stickum on his gloves and really does Justin Fields favors. And he's also a plus in the run blocking unit, and he doesn't give up on the team because his quarterback got hurt. So a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes with Allen Lazard right now. Gibson, I don't see what he gives you on special teams. I understand he had the 1 punt return, but I still think Nwangu, the running back / returner, is better than him. Arian Smith, he's making the team. They have a role for him as the intermediate to deep gadget guy. He's going to take the eyes off of Garrett Wilson. He's going to, occupy 2 sets of eyes in the back end of the defense. They're always going to have to account for him taking the top off. And then Malachi, if he makes it, he's going to be your short to intermediate guy, your mid screens, bubble screens, now screens, your little dart routes, your one-step slants, your drag routes on mesh shallow crosses, things like that, just to get him open in space and have him run and use his physicality to his advantage in open space. So I'm not too thrilled with the unit. I think it's kind of so-so, and it falls in line when you stack it up with the division. 4th has to be the Patriots, in my opinion. Stephon Diggs, unless that purple substance or pink substance he was doing on the boat, unless that, revitalizes his, I think it was a torn ACL or torn Achilles that he's coming off of. I just don't see Stephon Diggs having the, no pun intended, the legs to be a top wide receiver anymore. So it's going to be tough. Mac Hollins, he's solid, I guess. Probably not even a good number 2 for this team. Demario Douglas, this is going off our lads' depth charts. I know I missed Kyle Williams, their 2nd or 3rd round pick from this past year. He was far down their depth chart, so that's on me for forgetting them. But I would say Kyle Williams is probably your number 3. Kendrick Bourne, kind of just bouncing around the NFL, not really doing much. I think he was with the Patriots last year, so he's a holdover. And then you have Polk and Baker, who are just young guys trying to make their mark on the team. Unfortunately, you didn't see much from this entire unit last year in Drake May's rookie year. He didn't really get a ton of help from the wide receivers. So I do think Kyle Williams coming in as a rookie can make a bigger impact than most of these guys have already, especially the guys like Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, who really haven't given you much. So not really thrilled with this unit, and I'm really a big Stephon Diggs hater. So that's why they get 4th. But I just don't see them being like a star-studded unit where they're really, winning ball games for the New England Patriots. And I think they'll rely on their running backs and tight ends, much like the Jets will, to win football games. So that is all the position groups. And the next slide is going to show the averages of all the position groups. One is going to have the average, including the quarterback, and then one is going to have non-quarterback average, because I just wanted to show what it looks like when you take away the quarterback out of the equation and you just look at the surrounding environment of these quarterbacks. But first, Indy Jets. What's up, Indy? Dylan, when do you think they announced the Sauce deal? Indy, I should be asking you that. You're the one with the crystal ball. You guessed the average annual value of Garrett Wilson right on the nose at $32.5 million. So I think it's up for you to tell us when Sauce is going to sign the deal. I hope it's within the next 72 hours. I hope we get to, Friday when the rookies report. And I think both of these guys are under contract through 2020. or 2030, excuse me. And they're here for the long haul. And you get the press conference over the weekend before veterans report on, I think it's Tuesday, the 22nd. So very, very excited for the Sauce deal to happen. Very excited for the Garrett deal that has already happened. And yeah, Indy, I think you're the guy with the crystal ball, so we need to be asking you that question. But I think by Friday. Nick says 4 for 140 before the weekend. Wow. So you're saying Sauce at 35 per. So he's jumping Stingley by 5 million AAV. That's okay. So I'm not going to say it's an overpay. I don't think it's an overpay for what Sauce has given you. I mean, 2 All Pros in 3 seasons, first team All Pros in 3 seasons is just a ridiculous pace for any player at any position, let alone cornerback, which is one of the hardest in my opinion. So I think it's justifiable 35 a year. I projected him around, I think 31 and a quarter, which was 4 for 121. And I had that projected for Garrett as well. And Garrett, exceeded expectations there by almost 2 mil per year. So you could be on the right track here, Nick. And I think if Sauce got this, I don't think I would be all too surprised. And then, people are going to look at this number and say, oh my God, 35 million. That's ridiculous. Like Patriots fan says that's too high. I don't think it is. And when you bring in the cap ramifications and you break it down year by year, the cap isn't going to be 35 million per season. Right. And you say here the value doesn't matter. The yearly cap does. Be creative and make it work. Exactly. If you do what Howie Roseman is doing in Philadelphia and you kind of backload these contracts to 2028, 2029, they know something about this Eagles front office, man. They know like TV deals are going to be renewed. These other things in the NFL are going to be renewed where it's just going to balloon the cap up more and more. And those deals that look so heavy on the back end aren't going to look so heavy. The thing that I look at with a lot of these contracts is the percentage of the cap they use on a player. If you want, I think the quarterback position obviously is going to be the highest. I think it's around like 17 to 22% the last time I checked for a very good starting caliber quarterback. So if you're getting Garrett Wilson at like 6% of your cap and Sauce Gardner at 5 or 7% of your cap, that's still half of what it would cost to employ a really good quarterback. So I look at the percentage of the cap, I look at the cap number itself, and again, they can manipulate these year in and year out and throw out deals whenever they really feel like. So yeah, it's more about the cap number than it is the overall AAV and things of that nature. So here's the final slide. Here you see at the bottom, we have a first, second, and third place. The average without the quarterbacks is on top. You'll see Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots in that order. And then non-quarterbacks, it is the same order. But if you notice, everybody takes a slight dip on their average, whereas the Jets come up a little bit on their average. So realistically, the rankings don't change when you remove the quarterbacks, but it makes it a much closer contest, so to speak. And the gap between the Jets and the Patriots widens more when you eliminate the quarterback position from it. Yeah, here Alan says 35 mil for Sauce is ridiculous overpay. I mean, it's not a ridiculous overpay. Considering I think he's better than Derek Stingley, I think he's better than J.C. Horn. If anything, Pat Surtain's probably sitting there like, God damn, what the hell do I have to do to get the money I deserve as the number one corner? But that's just part of it, right? He got his paycheck and his extension first. So now all these guys are just going to come in and be above that number. So it's kind of a tough spot to be in, but that's what the market suggests. Maybe it's not a full 35. Maybe they settle on maybe 33 or 34 million for Sauce. Even 32 would still make him 31 would make him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. And by all intents and purposes, we think that that's the course of action for Sauce is to be the highest paid. J-Quest, I just said, when do we get Sauce paid? I said, hopefully by Friday we get Sauce paid. I would hope within the next 72 hours before we even get to the weekend, before rookies report. So I'm hoping hoping very soon the Sauce extension comes down the wire. We're not going to probably get it tonight just because they don't want to rain on Garrett Wilson's parade, becoming the first $100 million player in Jets franchise history, first player to receive $31 million a season after only 3 years in the league. He's fifth highest in terms of guaranteed money, or fifth highest in terms of AAV, fourth highest in terms of guaranteed money at $90 million. So Garrett very well deserved at 32 and a half, and Sauce is coming soon. I saw a chat in here from Dom. There we go. What's up, Dom? See, I can't wait to reach out to you and start talking about in-season content that we're going to create, both from a NFL perspective and an NFL draft perspective, because you're the A1 guy when it comes to the draft. So I'm really excited to pick your brain this upcoming season. You say it's a good day when you keep your homegrown talent in-house. True AAV is only 25 mil per year once you take the last 2 years of the rookie deal into account. Yes, exactly. I was going to pull that up. Will Parkinson tweeted earlier today, Garrett Wilson will play out the remainder of his rookie deal before the extension kicks in. So he has this year and the fifth-year option next year, meaning the new money doesn't start till 2027. And he says that it's basically a 6-year, $150.3 million deal for the entirety of the contract. So it averages out to $25.03 million for the length of the deal. So exactly what Dom just said here. I love that. That is a steal for somebody the caliber of Garrett Wilson's talents, considering what he has done with so little at the quarterback position so far. All right. Oh, we got to get this one in. Papa Jet, how are you, Papa Jet? I am waiting for more classic rock songs suggestions from you. So can't wait to talk to you, hopefully on Jake's show this week. He said, just tuned in. Do the Jets extend AVT? So the Jets actually have a couple interesting contract situations outside of just Garrett and Sauce, and getting Mason Taylor signed eventually whenever that gets figured out with the second round pick situation. But they have 5 guys entering the final year of their deal that are all of pretty significant importance, in my opinion, to this team. Some more than others, obviously, but you have John Simpson, AVT. You have Quincy Williams, you have Breece Hall, and you have Andre Sisco. So 5 starters all entering the final year of their deal, and it seems very unlikely that you keep all 5 of these guys, but I would hope that between John Simpson and AVT, you find a way to keep one, if not both of these guys, and it would be amazing if they could keep both and just continue that continuity on the offensive line. So do I think they extend AVT? I do. Do I know when at all that will happen? No, and it's very hard to predict because they're still technically under contract. And although they did, no, Jamin Sherwood actually was an expiring deal. So we'd have to see what happens. And obviously they can't wait too long, but unless AVT has some crazy season, I don't see the number being out of reach for the Jets to be able to maintain him. So between him and Simpson, I would love to keep one, if not both. All right, here we go. Patriots 12. Great job. Great breakdowns. I appreciate the positivity, Patriots 12. All right, let's see. Alan said, I would have extended Garrett Wilson at 5 for 140, 100 million guaranteed. Yeah, I would have loved a longer deal for him, and I would love a 5-year deal for Sauce as well. It's just it's tough, right? These guys don't want those super long contracts because then less control is on the player, right? It's more on the team and their contractual obligations. So I can understand it from both perspectives. Wide receivers want to get paid. Garrett turns 25 next week, so by 2030 he'll be entering his age 30 season. He's probably going to want one more sizable contract before he retires, right? So I don't think 5 years is always in the player's interest. All right, a couple more questions and then we'll get out of here. We're about at the 50-minute mark. Papa Jet coming tonight in the Discord. I appreciate that. Chris B and Indy saying hit the like button. Yes, everybody hit the like button. Please subscribe. I didn't turn this one on subscriber only. I hope a lot of people are subscribing, though. I mentioned at the top I did hit my 500 subscriber threshold, but I do need public watch hours. I'm about halfway to the public watch hours necessary in order to get gifted memberships, super chats, and a merch store. So I hope that everybody just keeps watching all my videos. I'll continue putting out as much content as possible. I mentioned at the top again that YouTube took down my Drew Aller all 22 film review. It was up on the site for 3 or 4 days with no copyright issues. And then I get an email saying YouTube blocked my video. So I was not able to get any views, any interaction on that one. I'm trying to find out how to, work around it, whether I have to trim the entire clip or if I just have to go and make a new Drew Aller film review, which I don't really want to do because I didn't love watching Drew Aller, to be honest. So kind of fighting with YouTube right now with the film reviews, but I'll definitely get Garrett Nussmeier watched. And there's another quarterback on my list that somebody suggested I watch. Maybe John Mateer, the Oklahoma transfer. I forget where he played last year, but he's on my list. So I have a couple more film reviews coming before the Jets really ramp up. And I'm hoping every day we'll have content as far as training camp updates, guests who were either at practice or are, 1 ear away from guys at practice. So definitely trying to get some good guests on. But as you see, back on the list real quick, the Jets come in 3rd place in the rankings, whether you have the quarterback or not. I think that's kind of where it sits as it stands right now. The Dolphins are probably the 2nd best offense on paper. Whether that comes to fruition or not, I think the Jets have the highest room for growth. I don't think they have the lowest floor. I think the Dolphins actually have the lowest floor, believe it or not. I think with Tua's volatility and his injuries, Tyreek Hill and his ability to just check himself out of games when it's not going well, and the offensive line being a problem for the Dolphins makes them the lowest floor for me, in my opinion. So I think the Jets are kind of just middle of the pack. They're going to be competitive against the Patriots and the Dolphins. I hope they're able to win 2, if not 3 of those 4 games. And then can you go and split with Buffalo, steal one at MetLife when Josh Allen comes to MetLife and seems to be rattled every time against this defense? So really excited to see how the Jets offense shapes up. Next week, I have the defense and that entire side of the ball to stack up against the AFC East. That's where I think the Jets close the gap a little bit, if I'm being completely honest with everybody. So I think that's the strong side of the football team as it stands right now. And the offense, while it does have a high ceiling, a bit of a low floor. Whereas I think the defense has a higher floor and a much, much higher ceiling where they could be a top 3, top 5 unit. A couple more chats and we'll get out of here. Alan says Simpson stays because of his wife. Is that because she's like a doctor or something at like a hospital here in New York or something like that? I know she graduated or became a doctor somewhere. So I can agree with that part of it. ABT walks because he'll want to get right tackle money. I also believe ABT will want to return to the left coast. That the last part, it's hard to know what his wants are as far as where he wants to be located and what he prefers that way. Will he want right tackle money? I don't blame him, right? We've kind of used him everywhere in his first 3 or 4 seasons with the Jets, and I know he's suffered some injuries and whatnot, but I would be pushing for it too, especially if you think that you can move on and be a right tackle elsewhere. I know Mekhi Becton kind of did the opposite, and he went and he became a guard for the Eagles, and he was able to start and play well. Although he was playing, kind of got injured a little bit toward the end of the year. But now if ABT could do the opposite and he's like, hey, I've been a guard this whole time, but that's not my best position. Like, I think I can still be a really good right tackle. And hopefully we don't have to see AVT at right tackle at all this season, because that would mean Armand Membu got hurt. So I can see that being a factor into it. But as far as what he prefers and where he would like to be, that's hard to say. And money kind of speaks. So if the Jets are able to give him a contract, it's not like he's picking a team like the Rams or the Chargers because they're offering him the same amount of money and there's no income tax, right? Whereas like he went to like Texas or Florida, he would be paying a lot less off the top of that contract in state tax and whatnot. Patriots 12 said, how do you like the fullbacks? To be honest, I'm not familiar with any of the other teams' fullbacks other than the Jets, whose is Andrew Beck. And I think Andrew Beck actually makes the roster for the Jets. I'm not sure if they keep him as like a fourth tight end or if they keep him as the fourth running back technically. But I think there's a path. If you keep 25 offensive players, you have 2 quarterbacks and 10 offensive linemen. That leaves you 13 skill position players. So you can go 4 running backs, 4 tight ends, and 5 wide receivers, whereas Beck is included in the tight ends and you have Nwangu included in the running back group. So you're able to keep 13 skill position players that way. So I do like the Jets fullback. I don't know much about the other fullbacks in the division. Boomtown says, the Dylan Tereman. Yes, sir. I'm glad you can catch us live. I am happy to have you here, Boomtown. Johnny Boy says, I think with the extension for Garrett and next up is Sauce, it's for the saving pieces for AVT and others. Yeah. I said there's a couple guys, Simpson, AVT, Brees, Quincy, Cisco are like the next 5 that you would shift your focus to after Sauce and Garrett get their extensions done. How many of the 5 are they able to keep? Can you franchise tag Brees and re-sign Simpson, AVT, and Quincy, and then you let Cisco walk and you replace the safety in the free agency or draft next season, and you're able to keep 4 of your 5 guys. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know what the cap looks like after the Garrett deal. I know that they're sitting pretty nice next year, and I know Garrett's deal doesn't affect next year, which all the other guys I mentioned would. So I do think they're going to be strategic, I would say, in how they get the other guys done. All right, Boomtown with a question. Are we kind of locking ourselves into a quarterback round 1, wide receiver round 2 type of draft next year? That's fair. Depending on, just exactly what Justin Fields looks like. I think that's and we hate doing this, right? Like we always say the Jets have so many options available in the draft and they could go this way or they could go that way. And then when it comes down to it and we get into like the later stages of March and April, it's like every mock draft had Olu Fashanu and Mason Taylor or some combination of offensive tackle and tight end in the first 2 rounds, right? So for as unpredictable as the Jets should be in the draft process, it's very easy to pinpoint the areas of need for the Jets. And my thinking is when you have a premium pick, like first, second, even a 3rd round pick, you're going to want to prioritize premium positions. So if they go quarterback, wide receiver next year, I'm not mad about it, right? You're going after the premium positions. So although I don't want to say it's just that easy, Boomtown, it might just be that fucking easy, man. It just might be that easy to predict what the Jets are going to do 10 months in advance. Papa Jet, you got to tell the Bills fans that you're surrounded by to tune in anyway. Who cares? We'll talk Bills on the channel at least twice a season, and we'll do midseason updates and continue ranking them against the Bills. And I'm sure we'll be talking about the Bills a lot. So I appreciate all your support and spreading the good word of the Dylan Tereman YouTube experience. All right, last one here from Johnny Boy. I think it's AVT, Simpson, building the line and having them stay together is huge, and then saving for JJ. Brees is the odd man out. I don't know if Brees is the odd man out in my opinion. I think Quincy would be the odd man out in terms of guys who were here that are up for extensions. I'm not including Cisco in that because he's just on a 1-year flyer type deal and they could cut bait after 1 season. I would say Quincy's the odd man out because they've already paid a guy $15 million, and I don't see a scenario where they have Sherwood on the $15 million a year deal and then they franchise tag Quincy. So you could franchise tag Brees, sign your 2 guards, and then not to my liking or to my personal opinion, but they would let Quincy walk in that situation. So it'll be tough, but you have to save for JJ, in my opinion. If he bounces back off the Achilles and he's even, 75% of what we think he can be in the future, he's just going to get better and better. So it's just going to be hard on JJ if he struggles to stay healthy this year, can't really get on the field in the beginning of next season, and then it really lingers for him with the contractual situation. So I would be saving for JJ as well, but that one might get dicey depending on how he recovers from the Achilles. All right, Johnny Boy has a follow-up, so we'll add it in. Who gives you more upside, Quincy or Breece? Going to be tough choices. Upside, that's a tough one. They both present you a lot of upside. Quincy's already been an all-pro in this league. Breece has shown flashes where he was on his way to being Rookie of the Year, and then he got hurt, and then Garrett won Rookie of the Year. So we've seen what they can each do at the height of their abilities. It's just a matter of who can do it longer, in my opinion, and on a more cost-effective deal. If you extend Quincy, you're not eating the entire cap hit of the franchise tag like you would with Breece, but it's just, what does the Quincy extension come with? How much does that cost? Are you willing to pay your linebackers $30 million AAV combined? I'm not sure about those questions. So I would still say Breece gives you more upside. But I do think Breece would be the more replaceable player. So if you're taking it from that perspective, maybe you would want to sign Quincy. So that would definitely be the conundrum for me, would be Quincy or Breece, but you got to get the guards paid up, keep the line together. Continuity is the best. Fortune teller, Indy Jets with the last comment, and then we're getting out of here. DT Fields will finish in the top 5 for MVP this season. I love the optimism. I hope by like week 2, 3, or 4 of this season, especially coming out of Tampa, where I'll be with all the Asmaniacs at Jake's meetup, I hope I come out of that game and I'm a true Justin Fields believer, because I'm looking at his jersey over there signed, and I'm getting a frame for it in the next couple weeks. And I need that on my wall for more than just one season, right? All that hard work in Jake's raffle just for one season of Justin Fields, and I'd be pretty disappointed. So I hope you're right, Indy. Even if he was, top 14 in the NFL, I'd be super happy, and I think that'd be enough. And as long as you can just, hold the boat, even if they get a rookie next year, and you just kind of be the bridge option for him, or you just play really well and you're the bona fide guy moving forward. So we'll see with Justin Fields. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I think at one point we had about 20-something concurrent viewers, so I really appreciate everybody. Hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll be back next week. Oh, okay, here we go. Here we go, Boomtown, because you brought me up, and I'm an Azzy. We got to get it in at the buzzer. I'm up for favorite co-host in the Azzy Awards. How do I feel about my chances against Fialco, Parles, and Parkinson? Okay. I'll do a little bit of my, I guess the enemy breakdown, so to speak. Fialco, this kid is a super genius kid, right? With the film breakdowns and everything that he brings to Jake's show. So he always is very informative, very insightful, and it's going to be hard to top him. And hopefully moving into his new career, it kind of hurts him a little bit now that he's not going to be a regular guest on the show, but what he's already done for Jake's show is absolutely incredible. Jeff Parles has the longevity of the Jake Asman experience, so he has a lot of guys, that haven't even tuned into Jake's show in months that still know who Jeff is. So if they just happen to be catching that episode that day when Jeff is up for a vote and they're like, I don't know who the hell DTereman is, this new guy, then Jeff's probably going to get the vote, right? And Will Parkinson is going to be hard to beat anyway. I mean, he's a stud in his own right. He's very insightful, very tuned in, very plugged in with the Jets. So I'm not going to say I'm bringing up the rear in this category, but I feel like I kind of am, which hurts, right? But there's a lot of Asmaniacs that are new, just like I am. I've only been watching Jake's show for the last maybe calendar year, 9 months, 10 months or so. So I'm really excited to see how that one turns out. I'm going to be campaigning on new guy, the new guy vibes, and I bring a lot of fun to it. I stay around for 90 minutes. I just did 2 hours with Jake last week, so I hope that my longevity on screen throughout these episodes helps me out for sure, because I'll stay with the callers and I really dig deep into the Asmaniac world, and I don't just stay for the Jets stuff. So I hope that I have a good chance. Indy, I appreciate you saying I have a chance. It's between me and Will Pa. I think it's anybody's game. If I had to guess right now, Jeff's probably going to take it home from the longevity perspective. And then I think it would be Will coming in second, Fialco coming in third, and I'm bringing in the rear because I'm the new guy, but I'm bringing a lot of fire, and I got my own little flavor. So I wouldn't be upset either way. I'll be shocked if I win, but I won't be upset either way. I think they're all very deserving. So on that's finally it. We're going to do it here, just over an hour. I appreciate every single person tuning in. Like button, subscribe button, smash them both. Get those watch hours up. I'll be busting out plenty of daily content in short form. Hopefully we'll get to another film review for a college prospect, probably Garrett Nussmeier of LSU, if YouTube cooperates with me. I appreciate every single person tuning in. I love you all. I'm DTereman, and I'll catch you next time.